I do believe that software is the key element to scale super, super fast. It's exponential growth. And without a really good system and a really good software, it makes it tough to keep track of everything. And I think, people were able to do this in 10,000 BC, a lot of the stuff like keep track of inventory. So it's definitely the thing that gives you a competitive advantage that I look for if I'm buying a company. I want to know that they learn software and they're used to using it.
The following is brought to you by Thryv, the end-to-end client experience platform that helps you get the job, manage the job, and get credit.
Welcome to Winning on Main Street. This is Gordon Henry, and today we're speaking with a really special entrepreneur you have to meet, home service millionaire Tommy Mello. Tommy is the owner and operator of A1 Garage Door Service, the host of the Home Service Expert podcast, and the owner, partner, or investor in 14 other businesses, ranging from Christmas lights to real estate to mobile apps. In 2007, Tommy became the sole owner and operator of a single Phoenix-based garage door service business, which came with $50,000 in debt. Today, A1 Garage is on pace to generate $75 million in annual revenue, nearly double last year's level. He has 360 employees in 17 states. Tommy has also written a best-selling book on his journey called Home Service Millionaire: How I Went from $50,000 in Debt to a $30 million business in 7 years. That was a few years ago. When not in the office or working on business, you can find him on a plane headed to exotic destinations or chasing a little white ball. That means he plays golf around one of Arizona's many golf courses. Welcome, Tommy.
Hey, thanks for letting me be here. I'm excited.
Yeah, so quite a story, Tommy. Just tell us your story. How did you go from $50,000 in debt one day to a $30 million business 7 years later?
Well, I'm from Michigan originally. I moved out to Phoenix in 1999. Parents both were in business. My dad had a transmission shop. My mom was a realtor. So learned a lot about kind of entrepreneurship. I started mowing lawn as a kid and shoveling snow like a normal kid in Michigan does. And then got my first job at 12 under the table, washing dishes, because it was, just really a lot of hard work. And I learned how to make money, but never learned about business. They don't teach you in school about credit cards and about multiples of EBITDA and how to do financing and how to read a balance sheet. And I got a master's degree, but they really didn't teach me how to even do that. I was looking at companies like Home Depot and annual reports, and it just not really good, useful stuff. And so I got the hard knocks. I got to make a lot of mistakes. And in 2006 and 7, I learned about garage doors, and I'm absolutely in love with the business. I love home service. And, there's a beautiful thing when you really learn more. I always say I got a PhD. I'm poor, hungry, and determined. But I learned a lot about garage doors, and I learned a lot about home service. I started the podcast about 4 years ago, had people like Michael Gerber, Ken Goodrich, just a lot of amazing people on the podcast. And then I learned about how to sell a company, and I really learned on how to build a very, very high value very quickly. And that's what I'm in the process of doing, is trying to build this small garage door company started in Phoenix to a multi-billion-dollar company. And that's done through a fancy word called arbitrage that I absolutely am in love with. It's better than dealing drugs or selling diamonds or being a astronaut. I can tell you arbitrage is the most fascinating thing in the world, and maybe we'll talk about it. But that's my life in a nutshell of where I'm at today, is just really trying to build this company into something super special and bring hopefully thousands of employees with me in the journey.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we're all the way down the road on your concept of arbitrage. Just explain to folks what it is.
Well, an arbitrage is basically when you buy something and sell it for more. So you buy it in one market, like back in the 1860s, they had clipper ships, and these ships would go from New York all the way to San Francisco for the gold rush, and they'd pay $1 for a pair of shoes, and they sell it for $6. Anywhere you could arbitrage is basically making money. You buy it somewhere, you sell something for more. So in the home service sense of things, we're worth a multiple of our profit, and they call that EBITDA. And I don't want to go into confusing that, but basically they take your profit margin and you get some ad backs into there, like maybe your daughter's tuition that you threw in there, but you get the maybe 4 times or 5 times the multiple, and then I buy it because I'm a big company and I'm a platform is what they call it. And I give them all the systems of my business. And now it might be worth 12 or 14 or 16 times. So I take that 4 times business and I can sell it for 16 times within
Right.
a couple months. So that's a
Right.
4 times multiple. So I took something for some money and 4 times it. And if you do it a lot of times, the multiple goes higher and higher and higher. And that's why software companies buy up other software companies. I mean, you talked about Wall Street. This is what they do is they try to build, and I don't want to confuse people, but it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Because it's really how extreme wealth is made.
Yeah. Yeah. Great explanation. So back to you. You figured out how to scale your business. I think in some of your writings or talks, you've called it a money machine, which so many people struggle with. So many entrepreneurs struggle with scaling their business, going from, what I do with my own hands to something that's much larger than just me. How did you make that leap?
Well, it started out reading a bunch of books, and then I hired some consultants, and I found out I was doing the wrong thing. I thought I got very annoyed with people. I said, "Why can't you do it like me? Well, why don't you do it? What don't you understand? Why can't you be more like me?" And then it was really frustrating. And then I found out, and the best way to describe it is I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a manual. I didn't have an org chart. I didn't have a standard operating procedure for everything. So I had to go back to the drawing board about 5 or 6 years ago. And, we were able to build a pretty good business, $5, $6, $7 million. But it wouldn't grow past that. And it was always firefighting. It was always putting out fires. And I got to tell you, it was the definition of insanity. It was like we make the same mistakes over and over and just not know what to do about it. So we learned to build manuals and how to really take care of our employees and build a good culture and be better leaders. And I think it's, now if someone finds a mistake, it's not necessarily a bad thing. There's a problem with the process. So we found out there's 3 reasons why things fail for the most of the time is there's no process, the process isn't being followed correctly, or it's the wrong process. And so we just got a lot more organized and gave people a fair shot. And then we went to performance pay for everything. So believe it or not, I'm on performance pay. If the company doesn't make money, I don't make money. And so it's fair throughout the company now. We don't believe in tenure anymore. It used to be if you were here a long time, you kept getting promoted. Now, if a person starts and they kick butt, they got just as chance as anybody to move up. So those are some of the quicker lessons. And you hear Michael Gerber and all these people talk about process, but it really, really is learning to build a process and train, and coach.
So did you have any special technology or system that you use? You talk about the process. Did you embed this in some kind of computer system where folks who were just joining could follow this?
We've got an LMS and we switched to that's a learning management system. And so we really try to train as much as possible with videos and curriculum and give people real life scenarios. We also got an amazing CRM that keeps track of all the stats and what we call key performance indicators. And that's done through ServiceTitan and HubSpot now. But I do believe that software is the key element to scale super, super fast. It's exponential growth. And without a really good system and a really good software, it makes it tough to keep track of everything. And I think, at certain times, the software could also hold you back because you say, well, they haven't built this update yet, so we can't do it. And we talk all the time that, people were able to do this in 10,000 BC, a lot of the stuff, like keep track of inventory. So it could be a pro and a con, but definitely software is it's definitely the thing that gives you a competitive advantage that I look for if I'm buying a company. I want to know that they learn software and they're used to using an iPad or at least some type of cellular device of some sort to be able to keep track of things.
Yeah. I have to mention here, our company is called Thryv, and we also develop we call it a client experience platform, but very similar, as you're saying, sort of CRMs, CXM. It's a way for a small business to capture all their customer data in one place. So I've got a robust database, and then all my customer interactions from the minute they book the first appointment, all the emails I interact with them or texts to the final estimates and invoices and even the request for referral, it's all captured in one place. And so I know who my customers are. I know all the interactions, and I've got a process, as you said, embedded in the software for how we're supposed to deal with people. And even to 10,000 BC, maybe it wasn't software, but they probably had a system or a process for saying, here's how we're going to interact with our customers, right? It's just a way of doing things that's repeatable, right?
Yeah, it's exactly it. And the difference is when I look at any business, I can tell you, especially home service, because that's my kind of forte. And I've coached a lot of companies, is I look at four main things right away. I look at what's your conversion rate when you're face to face with a customer? What's your average ticket? I look at what's your booking rate. So I want to know when they call in, what's the booking rate, or it's a form fill of some sort. And then I want to know what does it cost you to acquire a customer? When I know those four KPIs, I could really dive in and find out how to make you a lot more money, because so many people think I need more leads. I need more leads. I need to, how do I get more people? And I'm like, well, what if we double your ticket, increase your conversion rate, and increase your booking call by 20%? And then I'm able to get leads cheaper for you as well. I could quadruple your business. A lot of people think that I need more leads. Another thing is, how do you keep them coming back faster? Now, that's the thing, is people don't understand that is there's really only three ways to make money. You get new customers, you charge your current customers more money, or you keep your customers coming back more often with service agreements. So I'm a big fan of just the data will lead you to the right answer. And that's when software comes in.
Right. Yeah. So I know in reading about, previous things you've done or talked about, you talk a lot about marketing, customer service, technology, not just fixing doors. In fact, it seems like you talk about fixing garage doors less than the other stuff. How did that come to you where you sort of realized these were the key aspects of running a small business? Was it through the mistakes that you made early on that you sort of came to these insights?
Well, yeah, a lot of mistakes. I've made more mistakes. I got to tell you, I run towards mistakes. I'm happy with rejection. I really am. I'm okay with no now. I'm just, no is a barrier that I'm able to get over. But it seems like I tell people now, we're a recruiting company who loves software and is involved with sales on a daily basis that happens to do garage doors. So, because the biggest problem of everything is that I've been hearing every day right now is, how do I get great people? And even when leads are scarce, right now everybody's got more leads than they could handle. I mean, almost everybody on everything. There's a scarcity going on with supply chain and people. I still say get better people, because better people, they know how to drum up business. They are smiling all the time. When they're at a restaurant, they're handing out their business card. When they're getting a haircut, they're handing out their business card, and they're able to recruit for you. They're able to get more business for you. They're able to get more Yelp reviews for you. They're able to get more Google reviews and Nextdoor and Facebook. So top grading and getting amazing people and creating the culture is like everything in a business.
Yeah. So really logical, but how do you get great people? I'm sure every small business person who's ever hired anybody wants a great person. Sounds easy, but we know it's not, especially nowadays. I mean, we're before the pandemic, we were in almost a full employment economy. It seems like things are getting hot again. And as you said, it's hard to find good people. So how do you get good people?
So this is a great question that I get on a daily basis is I think the first thing is identify the A players in the company and incentivize them to go find their friends and family, and have them open their eyes. I'm at a good restaurant, like I said, as if there's a busboy, I don't give them a garage door card to say, hey, let me fix your garage door. I'm giving them a card saying, you call me up if you want a career. You come into my office, I'm going to teach you a new career you can go anywhere in the world with. And I'm telling you, you can make amazing money. We're going to set you up for success. We're going to give you insurance. We play a lot of video games. We have a lot of fun. We'll take you out to soccer games and baseball games and football games. But let's give you an opportunity. Just if you don't even want to, come check it out. Maybe you know somebody. And when you're getting a haircut, and when you're at a swap meet, and when you're at a game, and then identify the people that you know. There's a thing called BNI. It's an old school Business Network International, and there's a carpet guy, and there's a plumber, and there's maybe a hairstylist and a massage and a retirement guy and a realtor. And there's always, you go to these things and you just say, listen, forget about getting work. Focus on employees. Say, listen, I'm looking for people that want to win. I'm looking for competitive people that want to win and that they really want to look for a career, because all those people are one-man armies. They're one-man networkers, and they'll always think of you. If that's the one thing you want, they all want, the florist wants more flowers sold. The realtor wants more houses sold. But if you're the one person they're saying, I'll do garage doors. Yeah, I'll fix your garage door. But more importantly, if you know anybody, if you meet anybody that's awesome, I've always got a spot for them. If you find an awesome person, I don't care. I'm never not hiring, because the person will pay for himself. In fact, my amazing assistant just now, she's hiring an assistant for her because we're so busy and I've got so many things going on. And I said, everybody looks at me like I'm crazy, my management. And I said, look, right now we have, she's managing 20 some odd apartments for all the technicians when they fly in. Well, there's a lot of times they're not being used. If I just get the money from Airbnb, that'll be about 20 grand a month. And that pays for 5 of these assistants. So I said, I got to be able to condone the expense, but also it'll help me. It'll free up 15 hours a week for me. So, but always be hiring. That's first. And then put it all out there. Like, don't just think putting an ad on Craigslist and Indeed is going to find great people. They're like, well, I put an ad out.
Right.
Look, a lot of people spend 20, 30, 50, 100 grand. I spent 250 grand just on pay-per-click on Google last month. But they say, look, I'm only willing to put a $35 ad on Craigslist to find an amazing person. So you're spending a fortune to get new customers, but you're spending what, pennies to find a great employee. And the crazy thing is, and I'll just finish with this, is people think, hey, it's a CSR, right? They answer your phones, whatever. You take a 60%, call it 60% CSR and a 90%. Okay. That's a booking rate. Those are of opportunities. So you got one booking at 60%, one at 90. They each take 20 opportunities a day, $500 ticket average. They work 300 days out of the year. And so 300 days out of the year, $500 ticket average, 20 calls a day. I think there's one other thing I'm missing on here. There's 4. No, that's it. 4 things. So I did this the other day with this group that came in. That CSR, but 90% will make $900,000 more for you. One person at 60 versus 90 is an extra 900 grand.
Yeah.
That's the thing that people don't understand. Jack Welch had it figured out at General Electric. He top graded all the time. And it doesn't mean, but coaching is a big deal too. But I can just tell you that literally right now, you're going to hear this from everybody. I just need to get more good people. Why would I want to work for you?
Right.
What do you do for your employees? How's the culture? When people come in here, they go, dude, I want to work here. This place looks fun. Like, you guys, everyone's happy here. What are you feeding them? And I'm like, well, we have lunch all the time that's catered and we do a lot of fun stuff here. That's what it's about.
Yeah. It sounds like when you talk about finding good people, you're not looking for a specific skill set. Like, I don't have to have expertise at garage doors to work at your company. But you are looking for people with certain attitudes, certain, outlook. Do I have that right? How do you know that when you see it, if it's not a specific skill?
It's really, I like to train people. I'd rather be able to make my own people. If you got the right canvas, which is the attitude, we do a thing called Spark Hire, where they'll interview through a platform where we don't have to necessarily go through an hour-long interview. We just look at the first couple of minutes and see, is this person well-spoken and do they have the right smile and attitude for the company? It's more of a culture fit in the beginning. And then their ability to learn. So we use the predictive index to find out, are they, like, I'm more of a high DI. That's a different behavioral test. It's called DISC, but we use predictive index. So we do all these things to kind of give us an advantage over anybody. And then we do a lot of ride-alongs. And the main thing is we will hire people with experience, but we prefer not, because we feel like if a dog has already learned all these tricks and he doesn't sit the right way you want him to, you got to have him unlearn. And that's a really sad scenario, but we just got a puppy, so I use these dog acronyms all the time. No, but we think we could take somebody with a fresh canvas and give them the skills, because attitude is everything.
If you were looking for somebody, or maybe it was, let's say, your own kid, would you recommend vocational school, or would you recommend, 4-year liberal arts? And if it is 4-year liberal, what should they study? Like, what's your recommendation for kids coming up who want to be successful entrepreneurs or go into, an entrepreneurial field? What should they do from a schooling perspective?
There's a guy named Ryan Dice and Perry Belcher, and they're out of California, and they really. There's a buddy of mine that was a business partner, Josh Lee's, with a company called Snow Teeth Whitening, and I'll tell you, I think a lot of times now you want to go work for a company that's in touch with. I'd say get good experience as an intern before I decide on where I'm going to go to school. Maybe take a year to learn about internet marketing and software, and decide if that's what I want to do, and maybe even come and work for a blue collar industry like a plumber. Just do a small 1-month stint, because there's still a lot of money, because the more people that don't want to do plumbing, sounds like you're unclogging toilets, but there's way more to it. Is the blue collar industries are there's a scarcity happening. So the wages are raising big time for those. And I don't think a robot or artificial intelligence is going to be taking over that stuff anytime soon. So I would try to get your feet wet in an internship and do what you enjoy. Any degree is good because it proves that you could finish something. But I think a lot of people get done and they're like, this degree doesn't mean anything really. I don't know if I wasted my time and now I'm 60 or 100 or $200,000 in debt. I'm not saying don't go to school. I went to school for my master's knowing I wasn't going to use it to get a job. I just wanted to do it to say I have it and to see what I learned. And more importantly, what I learned in my master's degree was how to connect with the right people. I learned the teachers that had influence that they could introduce me to people. I learned the students that knew about SEO. And I sat at the right table. I learned all about what pay-per-click and Google My Business and all these different things were. And I think it's the ability to network that most people don't learn, especially in this day and age of social media all day long. So learn how to network the old fashioned shaking hands and smiling and finding out more about people, how to win friends and influence people. That's what's missing, I think, more in today's life is get your kids involved in social out there, like whatever collaborative things. Take their phone and their iPad away and have them out there meeting people. Because if that's the case, if you have those skills, it's not common now to have those skills.
No. Yeah, no, it isn't. And you mentioned that to me the other day when we were talking before this podcast, and that really impresses me how much I think you said, your biggest asset is just speaking to people all the time, making connections, finding out about people. And that is not something that most people, I think, are so attuned to anymore, especially with, as you said, computers and Zoom and social media. We're being taken away from that, right?
Oh, it's all the time. And the deal is if you find something, I was just, I had Brian Byro on, and he wrote Beyond Success and about 14 other books yesterday. And he just was talking about when he was working at a really, really large company, he said it was so siloed. But when he'd go in the office and sit down with the head of that branch or whatever it was, he learned to find out what do they have in common. Like this guy was a long distance bicyclist, and he was training at the time for triathlons, and they had so much in common, and he was able to connect with them. And then all of a sudden, likability, Robert Cialdini talks about it in Influence. Likability is a huge deal. And when you get somebody to like you and they're enthusiastic about talking to you and they want to try harder for you, and there's passion and there's excitement and you're putting in the time. He talked a lot about ESPN, give energy, surprise people with compliments, be present in the conversation, and do it right away. Don't wait. Don't say I'm doing it next month. And it was really, really powerful to hear just somebody just so enthusiastic. And he helped me learn yesterday that I identified that I'm so excited to give meetings. And I'm like, guys, wake up. Let's do this. You guys are going to hit all your goals. Think about this. You could go on your 10-year anniversary. You could surprise her with a trip to Hawaii or him with a trip to Hawaii. And you could finally go on that hunting trip, and you could finally buy that truck you've always wanted, or take your kids to, you always wanted to go to France, and make it about them. You see, a lot of us make it about the business. We say, look, if you hit your goals and you sell this much product and you do this and you do that, well, why do they care about that? Make it about their goals and help them hit their goals, but be excited about it. Yeah. And watch what happens to your business when you're actually like really into it. And people are like, whoa, this is kind of cool to work here,
Yeah. That's great stuff. Tommy, Why did you decide to write your book and start your podcast and tell other entrepreneurs your story? I mean, you could have just kept running your business and made a lot of money and kept things going. And, you didn't have to tell all these people about it. Why did you?
I felt like I had to write a book because at the time I had made so many mistakes. And I'm like, someone once told me, if you're not a reader, you're not a leader. And they said, why wouldn't you read somebody's book of their whole life's failures and to try to curve your destiny basically in your favor, to skip some of those things? Like, my mom and dad would look both ways before you cross the street. I don't want to get hit by cars. And that's basically what happens in business. We get hit by cars and we got to get back up. And we're not dead, but a lot of it, some of us go bankrupt because of these mistakes. I'm not building business credit, not being able to get a loan when it's possible. And I'm not a big fan of debt, but so I decided I was going to write a book with a lot of my kind of mistakes and kind of to avoid them. Because a lot of people asked me and a lot of people said, hey, can I get some advice? And I said, I might as well put this in a book. So I got done writing it and I had a buddy of mine read it and he said, it's good, but it needs more. So I got 12 co-authors and that really spiced it up and put the touches that I need. So we learned in the book how a guy sold 15,000 service agreements. We learned in the book, Darius Levers talks about how to sell financing. Al Levy talks about an org chart and manuals. Alan Ward talks about the financials and the financial quick check each week to know the balance sheet and the income statement. We learned about a CRM from Ara, the CEO of Service Titan. We learned about, and look, these are basic skills. They don't say you got to use Service Titan or QuickBooks or you got to use this finance company. They're more general terms of what you should learn. We learned about succession planning and how to sell your company. There's so many cool things in the book that I literally learned from these guys, and they're all 3 or 4 pages each. And to me, it really spiced up the book in a way that gives so much knowledge. I mean, 12 co-authors, and then the podcast was just, I guess selfishly in the back, looking back on it, I wanted to get these people that I probably couldn't get otherwise to learn about their business and them. And in the process, I take a lot of notes and I learned so much. It's literally like, each podcast I do is like me reading 3 books because it's my directed questions about mostly my business. And people are living vicariously through me in the podcast going, dude, that wouldn't. And I get these messages like daily, like all day, every day. I get cards in the mail. I get gifts. And they're like, you literally made me a better father. I'm spending more time with my kids than ever before because my business runs itself. And these things that I get I can't explain how I feel, but it's better than anything I've ever felt before. It's like I was able to touch somebody, or the person on the podcast was really, and we were able to share that. So, I mean, this guy this morning was like, dude, you don't even understand. Like, can I take you out to dinner? He lives in Scottsdale and I'm in Phoenix. So, and I'm like, yeah, we could go out to dinner and I'd love to hear about your business. But what I find is, and I use this all the time, I take a boomerang out when I'm training, when I do an orientation, and I say, the podcast and the book were like a boomerang because it comes back tenfold. It comes back to me 10 times harder. And it really is this, it's, I can't explain it, but I'm addicted to it, of helping other people, because once you start, it's like philanthropy. It's hard to stop because it puts a smile on your face and it means so much to people, and you're really influencing lives to make them better. So I can't tell you until you feel it. And everybody's felt it in some way, but the more I give, the more I want to give.
No, that's great stuff. Tommy, we're going to go to a quick commercial on that note, and we're going to be right back with more from Tommy Mello.
This episode of Winning on Main Street is brought to you by Thryv, the end-to-end client experience platform that includes everything small business owners need to meet their customers' expectations. Thryv's award-winning and fully mobile interface delivers technology previously reserved for big business to the fingertips of small business owners nationwide. Thryv's built specifically for small business, but there's nothing small about what it can do. Thryv handles your entire customer experience, helping business owners reach more customers, stay organized, get paid faster, and generate online reviews, all from a single device or screen. To learn more about Thryv, visit winningonmainstreet.com and click on Get a Demo. When it comes to software to run your business, there's no comparison. Check out Thryv today.
We're back with Tommy Mello, and Tommy was just telling us about why he's so excited about giving to other people, which is a really great message, and how much he gets out of that. Were you a born entrepreneur? Do you think this was something that you just always had naturally, or is it something where you sort of learned from your parents? You talked about some of the learnings you had from your parents.
There's a great question that I took a lot of psychology in college, and it's called nature versus nurture. Nature is where you given these things. Is it just in your blood, or was it the parenting? And I tend to think it was a lot of the parenting. It was so much psychology that goes into it. When I was 5 years old, I went to a garage sale, and I tell the story quite a bit. And I saw the CB radio. It was probably 15 years old, and it had batteries and a little plug, and it had this long antenna, and it was just this little microphone. And my dad said, "All right, Tommy, we get going." So I put the mic back on there, and I took the antenna, put it down, snapped it back in, and kind of walked back to the car, kind of slow. And my dad goes, "You really wanted that, didn't you?" And I go, "Well, yeah." And he goes, "Here's $5, go get it." And I said, "Okay, well, I need $15 more. It's 20 bucks." And he goes, "No, you don't." He goes, "Go tell the lady you'll give her $5 for it." And I said, "Dad, I can't do that." I said, "She wants $20. It was with Scotch tape, a little $20 sign." And he goes, "Tommy, I want you to look at me when you go up to her and ask her politely." And man, I was like, this is the toughest thing. I'm walking real slow, and I'm like, I look back at him, and he's waving at me, and I'm like, this is the longest walk of my life. And finally I get up there and I say, "Ma'am." She said, "Yes, how could I help you?" I said, "See that CB radio?" And she saw me looking at it before. And she says, "Yeah, how could I help you with that?" I go, "Was there any chance you would take $5 for that?" And she literally picks it up. She takes the $5, she picks it up, and she gets down on one knee and hands it to me. And my dad's waving at her. And I came back like, it was the coolest feeling, just like, man, at my first negotiation, my dad was so proud. And it really took a lot of like guts to do it. But that was the first time. So that was more of the mentoring of how to become a deal maker. And I got to tell you, there's a lot of instances in my life where stuff like that happens. So I do think it's a lot of putting yourself in those uncomfortable spots, not being afraid of your internal objections, not being afraid of rejection. There's a good book called Go for No. And he talks about when he was selling, he meets himself at a different time. He bumps his head, and it was like a fairy godmother story. But and they talk. They're golfing together. The same person, and he goes, "Why are you so wealthy? Like what happened?" And he goes, "Do you remember when we were selling men's clothing?" He goes, "Remember when we set a record? We sold $1,200 to that gentleman. He bought the belts, he bought the shoes, he bought the nice shirt." And he goes, "Yeah, remember that like yesterday. The manager was really proud. We set a record." He goes, "But do you remember what else the manager said?" He said, when did the gentleman say no?" He goes, "At what point did you decide, you did decide that it was enough? He might have bought $20,000 worth of merchandise. When did he say no?" And he goes, "Well, he didn't say no." And he goes, "So we build this artificial thing in our head of saying, this guy won't do financing, this guy, because we're buying out of our own pockets." So these little life lessons, these books, these little, I'll tell you what, it's all around me. I mean, you can see the books and the audibles on my phone. I'm almost up to 1,000. They're not all read yet, but I'm obsessed with it because I learned these lessons. And, we talked yesterday about the 1,212 degrees, or 212 degrees. That 1 degree from 211 to 212 is a boiling. And that's a steam engine. That 1 degree, that little thing causes a locomotive to run. It causes all these things to run. And it's hard to believe, but just this one small degree of change in everything you do could completely change the destination of your life. And these little things mean a lot to me. And that's why I'm a forever student, right? I'm always looking for the next opportunity to learn something and be the dumbest guy in the room, which I really am a lot of the time.
Great stuff. Tommy, tell us a little bit about your personal habits. I'm always interested in successful people, whatever kind of person. Successful people seem to have habits. They have routines. They get up early, or they work late, or they work out, or they have routines. What's your routine?
So what I've learned is, for me, is to hire around my weaknesses, and that means getting an assistant that really complements my weaknesses. So she's very good at time management and organization. So for me, I'm able to delegate things very, very well to her. So there's not it's not uncommon for me to send her 12 to 15 text messages or quick emails to put something on my calendar. So the first thing for me is everything's got to be on my calendar. It's got to be carved out, whether that's calling my mom, whether that's making time for my dog to go home and let him out. Everything's got to make it to the calendar. My whole calendar is lit up with sometimes little minutia things, 10 minutes for this. I mean, there are times that I have to read a book on my calendar. If you were to look at it, there's plenty of times on here. And I'll say I need 4 hours for this next week because it's got a priority. And I'll try to get the biggest things onto the calendar first that I know a lot of people push off. So focused on calendar. Then another thing is just, I know how much I make per hour. I figured it out a few months ago, and I always try to figure it out every 6 months. And I try to make sure that unless I love doing something, like I don't necessarily love mowing the lawn, at the hourly rate I make, I'm going to hire, actually, I'm getting ready to move in a new house, and I'm hiring someone to come in and cook for 2 hours a day. And it's not that expensive. And actually I figured out it's going to save me a lot of money, but I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to have fresh squeezed juice. I'm going to literally have everything I want. So I think what I've learned to do is really understand the time value of money and be able to create a lot more time for the things I love to do. And I say that's the probably strongest strength I have right now, is being able to really understand money and saying, I'm going to put myself in a situation. I have a trainer that's coming today at 5:30. He's showing up to me. Now try to get out of that one. It's easy to get out of it going to the gym. So I also put myself in situations where I can't give myself an excuse. So I know, because I know I could lie to myself. There's the evil, and then there's the angel. And sometimes this guy takes over. So I got to leave myself with no other opportunity but success. And I put myself into a corner all the time because I know sometimes I could be weak. I'm not like Jocko with the ultimate leader or whatever. It's sometimes he's got so much discipline and to make your bed and do all this stuff. And I'm like, I'll have somebody else make my bed, and I'll just do the things that I love. Not that I'm lazy to do it, but I just find that I'm happier if I do the things that I really, really enjoy, and making my bed is not one of the top things on my list.
Yeah. That's great. Last question. I think we're kind of out of time, and I really do appreciate your time, given how busy you are, especially. How do you define success, and do you feel successful?
I mean, that's a loaded question. I think I've always, success to me is what really makes you happy. And I don't think it's about money, or it's necessarily about time. I think that you got to look at your values. And what I've always said to me is, success to me was, I want to do what I want to do whenever I want to do it with whoever the hell I want. Well, that means ultimately, if I want to take you and a few other people, maybe employees, maybe friends, to Alaska tonight, I've got the resources to be able to do it. That means anytime with whoever I want, anything I want. And that to me is, I feel like I'm not quite like going to take a private jet there. I'm not there yet, but that's to me what I think success is. And I think the biggest thing I could tell you that a lot of people need to do is they should take the opportunity to find a company that they want to become in a similar like industry, and get as far away from their hometown as possible. And don't bring a lot of distractions. If you could, don't bring your kids. It's not a vacation. It's to bring in a bunch of notes, that questions you have, and to engulf yourself. Drink the Kool-Aid from another company. Define your vision. I think a vision is so important. It's usually a dream that becomes a vision, and then it needs to become marching orders on a timeline from day one. What I need to think about today to get this line to be there, because most people, it always stays a dream. It never becomes a vision that becomes a marching order from the day. And it starts today. I did it on my whiteboard. I put, how do I get to $1 billion? And I said, okay, the average guy does 500,000. I need 2,000 technicians. How could I take 2,000 technicians over 4 years? Then I broke it down by quarter. Then I break it down by month, then by week, then by day. And I had exactly the formula of who I need to hire, what I needed to do to get to $1 billion in 4 years. There's a lot there.
Right. Well, like you said, if if you just have a dream and you don't put it down on paper, you don't write it down, and you don't have the concrete steps in mind, then it just stays a dream. But if you do that, you can move one by one towards making it a reality. Obviously, you've done so.
Just have fun. Like some people, I got to tell you, I feel bad because I know there's things out there, like literally, especially with this pandemic. There are people that have chemical issues that literally feel certain ways that they can't get out of. A lot of that maybe, and I don't know, is exercise and fresh air and eating healthy maybe could help. But like a guy like Robin Williams, who seemed like he had life by the by the strings, and depression is a real thing. But I'm very fortunate because I'm happy and I don't deal with a lot of those things. There are times I'm sad. The other day my dad had a close call. He's post-COVID, and just it taught me a lesson of just take advantage of the time when he's here. But I'm very fortunate in a way that life is really what you make of it. I don't have any of those chemical issues in my life, and I'm fortunate for it. And really put myself around the right people is, they always say this, and you probably heard this, is take your 5 closest people in your life, add up their incomes and divide it by 5. And that's probably within 10% of yours. It exists for over 90% of Americans. So surround yourself with the people you want to become. If you want to become a better dad or a better husband, make sure you're hanging out with good dads and good husbands. If you want to make sure if you want to read more books, hang around with people that read books. It doesn't just apply with money.
Yeah. Great stuff. Great lessons. Well, Tommy, I want to thank you for your time today. This has just been awesome, and continued success to you.
Hey, thank you very much. Appreciate being on here.
Yeah. So we've been with Tommy Mello. He's the owner and operator of A1 Garage Door Service and the host of the Home Service Expert podcast, and many other businesses he's involved with. This has been great. And I want to thank you for joining us. If you like today's podcast, please give us a 5-star review and tell a friend or colleague to subscribe. Until next time, make it a great week.